What is going on, homies? It is me, D-Gentleman here, bringing us something a bit different. This. Creepypasta, a track mode. I'm not going to give any detail about this. I want to do it. Let's do it. Some ordinary gamers. Anyway. Follow along if you want to. Did you ever hear about Polybius? There's an urban legend that used to travel the World Wide Web back when it wasn't all that worldwide and consisted almost entirely of discussion boards. Basically, the idea was that this strange arcade game, Polybius, started showing up in arcades, kids checking it out, with vector graphics, and quiz sections kind of not mixed. And eventually, anyone who played it for any length of time started suffering side effects. And the ability to be sad. That one sticks in my head, sticks in my memory the most. I'm not so sure, it's just an urban legend. When I used to live in New York in the 1980s, my mom and I would make routine trips to the South Hills malls in Dutchess County. While she went shopping, I'd get dropped off at the Dream Machine arcade. It was everything you'd imagine. Loud music, mingling with chimes, and electronic gunfire from 100 noisy, obnoxious arcade cabinets, all begging for your attention and your money. I was always more of a skee-ball kid. Well, I played video games. I had a Nintendo. Still, something about rolling a ball for the promised reward of that boombox. 10,000 tickets. Or a radio-controlled car. 25,000 tickets. Always told me to that row of miniature bowling alleys. I wasn't really good at it, although I rarely rolled zeros. Last time I went to a Dream Machine, a friend of mine from school had come along for the trip, Nicholas. He and I shared a lot of common interests, though we didn't realize every kid our age did. Popular cartoons, toys, and yes, games. We met when I first came to school. He greeted me on the playground with a party, pat on the back, and a "how you doing?" Soon after, I found he had a bunch of wild berries from the store grounds at the time. My parents made his parents pay for the shirt after the stain. It wouldn't come out. They were brand new, so I'd make a good impression and all. So yeah, Nicholas was kind of a dick. I didn't even know how we became friends, but eventually it happened. As they went into the arcade together, he turned to me and held out his hand. "What?" I asked, so I studied his open palm. "Quarters. Your mom said we were supposed to share." She had given me a handful in the car, but I hadn't heard her say that. Still, I figured he wouldn't lie about something like that. I handed her half. With that, he's gone. Into the crowd of strange kids I didn't know. As you already figured out, we weren't supposed to share. Looking back, I figure his parents thought that if they had to pay for my shirt, should he have to pay for games when we were the ones taking them out. Seems like a hell of a thing to tell your kid to lie if you want any coins, but hey. Playing a game was 25 cents, if you believe it. Theoretically, if you had some serious mojo, you could beat an entire game or rack up skee-ball tickets in a single coin. As 50-cent games were the really fantastic ones, but I ignored them out of principle. So I rolled and I collected tickets, game after game. When I was almost finished, sooner than I should, since I was down half my gaming allowance, the other two kids approached. "Yo, can I get a roll?" Larger of the two kids asked. He's still smaller than me, but he was at least a head taller than the other kid who was following. I didn't want to say yes, but I did. "Sure." He rolled one ball up the rack. My brother too, the bigger little kid. Anyway, gestured to the smaller little kid. It was a way of saying, "Hey, it's only fair to include him." "Okay." The kid rolls two. "One more." The bigger little kid doesn't even wait for me to agree before he rolls another. The brother didn't even ask before he does the same. And that was it. I had no more rolls and no more quarters. I always wasn't sure tickets, but the big brother beat me to it. "Hey, I owed some of these, but it was my quarter." Pulled off a couple of tickets, and they both disappeared into the crowd. Dumped the rest on the floor for me to scoop up. Needless to say, I was getting very angry, very sad. Nothing quite like being alone in a crowd, I tried to find Nicholas, but had no luck. Either he was walking around the arcade too, and I kept missing him, or he had left the arcade and went to buy ice cream at the corners I, quote-unquote, shared with him. You found what it was? I don't even know how I managed to hear it over the din. "Please press start. Please press start." It was a loop of the same sing-song phrase, uttered by some deep mechanical voice that sounded like Darth Vader or Worf, or some other sort of sci-fi tough guy. I found the source of the voice, and saw it belonged to a jet-black arcade cabinet in the back corner of the place, lighted by a door that read "Office." Sides of the cabinet, or at least one I could see since it was against the wall, displayed a typical overdone airbrush-like painting It was a kid, like me, or dressed in some sort of youth scout outfit. His clothes were torn, and he had a look of resolve on his face. Though the crossbow had strange, alien skeletons swarmed around from tombstones behind him. The name above the machine's blinding, strobing screen read, Skull and Crossbow. Focused on the screen, it was black, like a cabinet, except for the source of the brilliant flashes. It was the same phrase the machine kept spouting, its heavy bass pulsing in waves. Please press start. Please press start. Please press start. I watched it for a few seconds and looked around. Someone, somewhere, had put a quarter in and left. Or they'd forgotten a free game and didn't know it. This wasn't the first time I'd see this happen, and I always dreaded it would happen to me. That I'd miss a free game that I'd earned. Nobody was around. The voice of the machine, seemingly frustrated, became more insistent as the time was running out. Please press start. Please press start. Please press start. I found myself up in front of the controls. Silver joystick and a couple red buttons. I pressed start. Instantly, an elongated, pointy-head skull filled the screen, its hollow eyes staring directly at my face. It was the briefest moment. My mind barely registered, but it was there. The game shook me with another heavy bass exclamation as the screen went completely back, as quickly as the skull appeared. Cool. I thought about stopping right then. There was no short supply of gory monster-themed games in the arcade. I'd never chosen to play any of them. I'd seen one called Chiller that made you shoot at people and objects just to torture them. It was filled with blood and violence and torture. I had nightmares about it on and off for weeks after I'd seen it. I was only watching someone else play. I couldn't leave because I was surrounded by a half-circle of other kids who were laughing and cheering every vomit-inducing scene. In the end, however, to make sure the game wasn't wasted, I overrode my fears about its content. First phase. And I'll be right back. I'm back again after a third cut off. I'm sorry, I'm trying to select fresh time here. Anyway, what was that? First phase. Alright. The words I saw on the screen seemed odd. The only time I heard phase was on Star Trek. You know, phaser, whatever that meant. Before I could think about it too much, I was under attack. On screen, that is. My character, the aforementioned Youth Scout, was at the bottom of the screen. At the top, a sight of elongated, pointy skull followed by a series of rib cages. The first rib cage had skeletal arms, and at the end of this bone monstrosity was a pelvis with skeletal legs. Relief washed over me. It was a sequel to or a clone of Centipede. And I played that hundreds of times with my cousin's old Atari. He'd give it to me as soon as he noticed girls. The setting was a graveyard. Tombstones blocked my arrows, but wouldn't cover with each hit. There were also several open graves that didn't seem to do anything. They certainly didn't stop or slow a crazy skeleton that was turning and hurrying downward. Each arrow I fired gave a satisfying thrum of the bowstring and made a nice crack when it hit its stone. However, as the big skeleton was hit, it would make this awful screech. The sound was distorted by the speakers or something. It was amped up too loud and too high a pitch to be smoothly projected. Someone could set tape being eaten by player, drawn out and shrilled, "Yeah!" I fired arrows willy-nilly, just getting a feel for the controls and such. That seemed to be the first level, or at least an early one. I smashed the skeleton thing with relative ease. Screen it back again, with these words in white. OAD is fighting mad now. OAD, let's do the skeleton thing. OAD. Alright, I'll be right back. There's another giant cup cut. Really? 5:58, 31 back. And I am back. OAD. What's the skeleton thing? Oh, like Theodore? It seemed fitting. Second phase. I was very ready for it to increase in difficulty. This was only expected. Is that the OAD moved faster now, whipping his head around and following his snake-like body in rapid order. Every time below his head, it would just move back and replace one of its rib cages. Remove any part of him, he'd grow shorter at the end. Seems like turning his head was a good idea, because it essentially sent him back while shortening his rear end did little good. I fired rapidly, just hit when I could, and the rest of him when he had a prime opportunity. Then, I did something weird. He stopped, just froze, and let me pick off his ribs. He opened his jaw and cut through bone with sharpened end pointing up right at my character. It descended so quickly that I could barely move out of the way in time. The worst part was the bone spear was belched forth with the most disturbing sound yet. This puke-like it made me feel sick to my stomach. The heavy bass of this game didn't help, thrusting the gross audio straight into the core of my body. It's a bit hard to beat this level, as you'd assume with any phase 2. Still, I was trying off it despite how close OAD had become to the bottom of the screen, which surely meant a loss. The screen went black. Watch your step. Third phase. The game started again, and nothing seemed different. OAD didn't move any faster, and while he still barked the occasional spear, it wasn't turning out to be very difficult. I'd say I had about half of his perfectly grim little body gone before anything changed. Then, out of the open graves, little skeletons crawled out periodically and continued to crawl through the graveyard, all the way to the bottom in a straight line. I specifically remember that the skeletons were generally the same size, but had small variations in height and the like. Some had little bits of rotten clothes, while others were missing limbs or even heads. No two were alike, which seemed very ambitious for an arcade game at the time. Most Holland had battled hundreds of identical thugs. Between watching OAD, keeping track of the crawlers, and avoiding the damned bone spears OAD endlessly spewed at me, I was overwhelmed. One of the crawlers touched the sprite, and I was dead. He was dead. My heart sank, but it always did whenever I lost a game like this. There was nothing to get that upset about, but you know how that feels. Life 2 of 3. The screen drew me back in again, informing me that I only lost one of my 3 lives, the quarter I'd paid for. I don't know why it's up in my mind. That games rarely ended after one try, but I'd completely bought into the idea that if I died, if the character died, that it was death, that it was it. Death was final. At least that's how I've been thinking. I barely got my hands back on the controls before the round started over again. This time I focused on killing the crawlers. The second the little head smoked out over the soil, showing Owen's body took a back seat the second I saw a crawler stirring. Fire, fire, fire! Crawler! Kick it out! Fire, 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 fire. I was getting to the groove of it. Now all I heard was the sound of a machine. The music that filled the place, all the clicks and hoots of other games, that was all gone. And all I remember hearing was a strange, off-kilter music of skull and crossbow. Every thrum, every thwack, every shriek of the villain filled my ears. I wanted to hear his speaker rattling death scream forever. Die, OAD, die, and die, and die, and die. Keep dying. I hate you and I want to beat your game. I want you to cry about it, because you're disgusting. I don't like you either. My heart raced. My jaw dropped. I beat the level, and that was the next message to greet me. In a childlike way, reason that it couldn't have been specifically saying that to me, because I'd only thought how much I hated OAD. I hadn't said anything, so it clearly couldn't have heard me. Final phase. This was it. The final level. It seemed odd that the game was so short, but there you are. There you are! Nicholas called out to me, as if I'd been hiding instead of searching the whole place for him. He's carrying a shotgun bag from the comic book store. Not now, I snapped. What are you playing? Skull and Crossbow? Threw the game as if the name was an insult. The same way he would say, you playing Barbies? Shh! What? Is it good? Stop it! I'm on the last level. Be quiet, and I'll be right back. Again. I'm so sorry about all the junk, by the way. I'm really, oh, what's going on in my house? Anyway. Stop it, I'm on the last level. Be quiet. And I just came up next to me, stared into the screen, and started pushing me out of the way. Hey! Hey! I screamed as loud as I could. Come on, give me a turn. No. I mustered everything within me and boomed out the most threatening sound I could imagine. No! Nicholas stepped away. Fine, baby. I didn't reply. I was busy killing OAD and his family. Baby? He repeated. Fine, baby. He He wasn't getting a response from me. Not now. I was so close to winning this game. Never actually beaten an arcade game before, and never would after. Next thing I knew, I was on the ground. Nicholas had shoved me. Oh, now I gotta go again. Okay, I'll be right back. And I'm back. Back to finish reading this. It is now 9:16. That's like a 3-hour frickin' jump cut. And let's get back to this, shall we? Next thing I knew, I was on the ground. Nicholas had shoved me, and I didn't even know what was happening until I was on the rock-hard red carpet. Old soda and grime flicked my arms as I laid sideways on the floor. My character, died again. Help me there to guide the little scout and tell him where to fire. He just stood there, frozen. And oh, I slithered down, bones rattling, claws clacking. The game made an awful sound. The perfect likeness of a little boy screaming as he slowly eaten alive. The tearing of flesh, the spurting of blood, the gurgle from the boy's throat after he couldn't scream anymore. It was all there. Cool! I noticed that my first control as I rolled over to go up and got my feet. Stop it right now! I screamed. Drop dead. In fact, replied coolly, it's my turn now. I tried to push him away from the game, shove him down like he'd done to me, but I was weak. My hands were shaking, my head and eyes were so hot, I could barely stand, much less force an able-bodied kid out of that space. Nicholas stroked the controls, mashed buttons hard with his palm. He didn't know how to play at all, wasn't in the swing of it, and he was starting on the hardest level. Die, 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 he chanted excitedly. This is cool, I'm playing it out, you can get next. I don't have any quarters, I whined, now basically crumpled in a heap and grasping at his knees, so if I can pull it from under him. Oh darn, he kept playing, rising the screen. I started to build up my strength, and one final lunge at my former friend. Before I get to that point, sounds erupted from the cabinet once again. A scream, eating, a gurgle of air bubbling through blood. Game over. The game sounded pretty happy about it. Oh well, that was too hard. This game sucks. Nicholas didn't get it. OAD needed to die. Now I was just about to kill him. He walked around the arcade cabinet and peered into the half-inch space behind the back of the machine at the wall. Then, he tried to move it. What are you doing? I was on my feet again. Barely. The last thing I wanted at this point was for this idiot to get into trouble. To unplug these, Nicholas tried and screwed his hand behind the machine, but it wouldn't fit. He gave me free games, sometimes. I was on board. Anything to finish what I'd started. But on second thought, I was beside Nicholas, trying to pull the cabinet away from just the wall, just enough to find the plug and remove it. Two of us jostled and rocked the heavy machine until we slid it away from the wall a couple of feet. Nicholas looked behind the machine gun and froze. What? Then on second thought, I was beside Nicholas, trying to pull the cabinet away from the wall just enough to find that plug and remove it. Two of us jostled and rocked the heavy machine until we slid away from the wall a couple of feet. Nicholas looked behind the machine again and froze. What? I was getting frustrated. I wanted another free game. Help? Nicholas stammered. I stood over close to him and looked over his shoulder. The arcade cabinet, the skull and crossbow game, it had no back. It was just an open space into infinite darkness. There, at the threshold of this impossible void, was an elongated skull, the ribcage, the skeletal arms and taloned hands. Here lived OAD. Behind him, an endless string of ribs and vertebrae led into a spiral into absolute darkness. It seized Nicholas by the hands, let out a soft cry, a whimper, and retracted him into the darkness with him. The cabinet, of its own volition, slammed back against the wall like a door caught by the wind. Slowly, unthinking, I backed away. After a moment of complete silence, the echoing din of the arcade returned to me. I could hear it all, the music, the games, the other kids, and I heard the skull and crossbow once again singing the song. Please press start. Please press start. Please set start. Please set start. When I stopped, staring at the back of the machine, because my eyes burned and not due to any regaining of sense, I turned my gaze to the screen. OAD rested at the top of the empty graveyard. I swear I had an extra set of rings. Well, that was a track mode with many different jump cuts. Track mode, it's a very good creepypasta. comment down below if you want to hear the sequels. There's, I believe, 2 more sequels to this one. So yes. Enjoyed it, please leave a like down below, and if you're new to my channel, please make sure you subscribe. First things first, let's check out this picture. Never mind. Anyway guys, thank you all so much for watching. My name is Gentleman Plays Games, or Wendell, and I'll see you all in the next video. See you my homies.